Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tracing a journey that started 1,000 years ago, but believe it or not, continues to shape millions of lives. It's an incredible story of scholarship, devotion, and a quest that literally crossed empires.
So how does that even happen? Well, we're going to get into the amazing life of Hazrat Ali al-Hajvery, a man known to the world by a title he earned through his actions, Data Ganj Baksh, the giver of treasures.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break down his remarkable path. We'll follow it through these 5 key stages, a journey that's going to take us from a city in ancient Afghanistan right to the heart of modern-day Pakistan.
So let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in the early 11th century. We're in the powerful city of Ghazni, the center of a huge empire in what is now Afghanistan. Now, he was a brilliant student, came from a distinguished family. He'd memorized the Quran, mastered all of the complexities of Arabic and Persian. But here's the thing, he felt this deep restlessness, He sensed there was a huge difference between just scholarly knowledge, or ilm, and a much deeper, more essential wisdom. You see, what he was really after was something called marifa, a direct, hands-on, experiential knowledge of the divine. He got that this kind of truth couldn't just be found on paper. It had to be lived. And that realization, it set him on a journey that would end up defining his entire life. And this search for a guide, it wasn't exactly a short trip. We're talking about a quest that spanned decades and a huge part of the known world at the time. He set off on what's known as a rihla, which is basically an epic journey for knowledge. For decades, decades, he traveled through the heartlands of the Islamic world. Persia, Syria, Iraq, all in search of that one teacher who could guide his restless heart. And get this, over 300. That number just brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale and dedication of his search. Just try to imagine that, meeting with hundreds of spiritual masters, traveling thousands of miles. It was only after this absolutely exhaustive quest that he met Hazrat Abul Fazl al-Kotali, and his soul, it finally found its guide. So after all those years of searching, he'd finally found his teacher. You might think the story kind of ends there, right? Nope. In fact, it was about to take its most unaccepted and pivotal turn. One night, his murshid, his spiritual guide, gave him this sudden command. He was told to pack his few belongings and his precious manuscripts and travel east to the frontier city of Lahore. He actually hesitated at first, pointing out that another of his teacher's students was already in Lahore. But his master insisted, so he obeyed. And this is where it gets wild. As he arrives at the city gates, he runs right into a funeral procession. He asks whose it is, and he's told it's for Sheikh Zanjani, the very student he had just mentioned. In that one moment, the divine wisdom behind his master's command became shockingly clear. So he arrives in Lahore, a city that was this big cultural melting pot, but spiritually, it was pretty fragmented. He didn't come in seeking power or influence. He started his work simply, as a humble dervish. There's this early event, what's known as a karamat, or a miracle, that really signaled his arrival. A local milkman refused to give him any milk, claiming his cows were dry. The saint simply asked for the cows to be brought to him. He touched them, and they began producing milk in abundance. That moment showed the people of Lahore that a man of immense spiritual power was now among them. His teachings were really grounded and practical. He was a big advocate for a path of sobriety over one of ecstasy. What that means is, for him, true spirituality wasn't about getting lost in some uncontrolled, intoxicating state. No, it had to be rooted in the discipline of service, in the clarity of Islamic law, and in a conscious connection to the world around him. But his influence wasn't just in his presence and his teachings. It was also in the powerful words he so carefully wrote down for all the generations that would come after him. He saw that a lot of people were confusing what true Sufism was. They were mixing it up with things like magic or fortune-telling, or even using it as an excuse for being idle. To correct these huge misunderstandings, he wrote a masterpiece, the very first of its kind in the Persian language. The book, Kashf al-Mahjub, or The Unveiling of the Hidden, meticulously laid out the principles of real Sufism. He argued that a mystic has to first be a scholar, grounding their spiritual practice in knowledge. This book became the foundational text, and its ideas still shape spiritual thought all over the globe. Centuries later, another one of the subcontinent's most revered saints, Khwaja Muhyiddin Chishti, visited his tomb. After spending 40 days in meditation, he recited this famous couplet as he was leaving, and in doing so, he cemented the title by which Ali al-Hajvery would be known forever, Ganj Baksh, the giver of treasures.
And this is exactly why his story still matters so much. That title, Giver of Treasures, isn't just historical, it's made real every single day. At his shrine in Lahore, a free kitchen, the langar feeds tens of thousands of people, rich and poor, side by side. His legacy of service continues in the most direct way you can imagine. His journey from a restless scholar in Ghazni to the beloved giver of treasures in Lahore, it really leaves us with this final thought. A legacy built not on worldly power, but on a spiritual generosity that continues to feed souls and people a millennium later.